Hey, what's going on, everybody? I hope you're having a great weekend so far. Mine has been spectacular. Sorry it's been so long since I put out any content, but if you read my community posts, you'll know I had a final going on that I needed to study for. So that took up most of my free time. Free time. That took up most of my extra. I don't even know how to say it because I don't have any of it. Took up my time basically. Life is busy right now, so thank you for being patient with me and sticking around while I take care of business. This channel is important to me. I thoroughly enjoy doing it. I enjoy getting in contact with you guys and interacting through comments and stuff and just sharing my learning here. But it's not a high priority. I've got work and school and family that all are prioritized over this. So thank you very much for being patient with me. And let's just go ahead and get into today's video. Today I am going to do a question and answers video, kind of an Ask Me Anything. DT has his Ask Hey DT segment. I think the Linux cast does this every once in a while. I'm not trying to be copycat, but I kind of want to know what you guys think about stuff and any questions you have, and I want to be able to answer them. Kind of makes it a little more personal. So let's just go ahead and give it a shot. If it works, great. If it doesn't, I will never do it again. So by the way, at the end, if you could leave a comment and let me know whether I should do this anymore or not, that would be appreciated. And please be brutally honest. If you said that was the stupidest thing I've ever seen, then please tell me that was the stupidest thing you've ever seen. If you think it's something that you'd like to see more of, then great. I'd like to know that too. So let's go ahead and get into it. I've only got a couple questions today because I put the post out a week or two ago, and this is what I got. So let's just go ahead and get started. The first question is from a gentleman, and I believe he has a channel of his own. It's called Tambucha Linux. And he asks, Hi Jake, could you let the audience know some of the details about your Linux history, such as when you discovered it and why you decided to make the switch? Absolutely. It was probably about 5 years ago, I would say, that I actually got into Linux, and basically the long story is, and if you want to read up on this, I do have a blog post on my website, jpedmedia.com, or you can go to blog.jpedmedia.com. The website's linked in the descriptions of all my videos, and it's literally the only blog post I have up there right now because, again, I have no time. But I do have a post talking about this, but basically I bought it. I was never into computers. I hated computers. I didn't want anything to do with computers, but I needed one for work. I needed something I could take in the cars with me, look at wiring diagrams, diagnose these flow charts, stuff like that. So I needed something that wasn't my workstation on my bench at work, but I could take it into my car and use it and actually be able to have it in the car with me. And so I bought myself a laptop. I used it for work, but then actually got the idea one day as I was sitting there watching my kids play video games. I believe they were playing Minecraft, and I just got to talking about how games when I was a kid, like the Atari and the NES, were all pixelated and everything, and they got all these fancy new video games now that are so realistic looking, and everything's cool, but yet they still play this pixelated block game, and I thought, this is just weird to me. But it's pretty popular, so I guess they're doing something right. But I thought to myself, I bet I could make a game. I'm a pretty hands-on guy. I'm a problem solver. I'm a real mechanical thinker. I'm a tinkerer. I like to know how things work. I said, I bet I could do that. I don't think I can make anything big and fancy by any means, but I could probably make a pixelated game like this. And so off I went, and boy, was I wrong. I did end up getting something out, but it was bad. Um, I won't share it. The code is gone, long gone, and I won't try to reproduce it either. But I did end up doing it. But in all my Googling and tutorial watching on YouTube and stuff, I saw some of the guys used Windows, but some of the guys used these really cool, really weird looking systems. I had no clue what it was. I'd never heard of Linux before. I take that back. I heard of Linux. One of the guys I used to work with swore up and down Linux was the greatest thing since sliced cheese, and I thought, you're dumb. That was my honest thought. But I had never really heard of it before, and so I'm watching these guys. And I thought, man, that's pretty cool. They can do so much more with this than I can do on my Windows machine. They can actually get in and change things and make it look how they want it to look. And I thought, man, this is awesome. And so I got brave and I downloaded VirtualBox and I installed Linux in my VirtualBox. And the funny thing is, I knew nothing about Linux, so when I actually started looking to find how to install it, I was seeing so many different options. I thought to myself, I started Googling, what is the better choice, Linux or Ubuntu? And it's like, I had no clue that Ubuntu was just a distribution of Linux. That was how new to Linux and everything I was. I had no clue. So, long story short, I downloaded Ubuntu and I booted up a virtual machine of Ubuntu, saw that purple and orange, and said, nope, not doing this, because at that point, I had no clue how to change anything, how I could change anything. I didn't know anything about it. So I said, I'm not looking at this every day. Sorry, Ubuntu and Ubuntu users. The color scheme got it for me. I said, nope, none of that. That's just hideous. So switched over to Mint, installed Mint with the Cinnamon desktop, and immediately fell in love. Linux Mint with Cinnamon was my first actual journey into Linux, and it was a great experience, and I highly recommend it for anybody else. If you're looking for something to make the transition from Windows to Linux super easy, Linux Mint is hands down my first option and my first selection and my first choice for you. But I lived in Linux Mint for a while, found out I was spending more time in my virtual machine than I was on my main machine. So in my YouTube video watching and my Googling, I found so many different posts and videos about dual booting. And I thought, I could do that. I've never partitioned a drive before in my life, but we can go ahead and just do it anyway. So I went ahead and partitioned my drive, and I installed Linux Mint side by side with Windows 10, and I was happy. And I found that I spent more time in Linux than Windows, so I eventually just wiped Windows out. Unfortunately, Windows is back on my machine because for some reason school says no Linux. We support Windows and we support Mac, but you Linux hackers, we don't like you. And so I'm not allowed to use my Linux machine. So while I'm in school, I have to use Windows, but that will go away when school is over. So I used Linux Mint for, I don't know, the first year or so of my Linux career. Then I heard about Arch and Arch-based distributions and was learning more and more about distros and what they're like. And so I started looking at other distros, and I found Manjaro. And I put Manjaro on my machine for about 6 or 8 months, and I loved Manjaro. But then I thought, I want to try Arch. After a year and a half, from going from no computer usage to a year and a half, I'm ready to give Arch a try. So I decided one night, we're doing this, and I installed Arch and failed miserably. But immediately turned around and redid everything again, and it worked. Long story short, I got into Arch and was on Arch-based systems for the next few years. Loved Arch. Never had any interest in leaving until I did my long-term review of Void. Then that was it. I was in love with Void and run it, and I've been on Void for the past year or more, year and a half, I don't know. Yeah, that's kind of my journey. I never did get another game out for my kids or anything like that, but transitioning into Linux got me into the computer space. Learning about tech and understanding how systems work was just so much more enjoyable on Linux than it was trying to mess with stuff on Windows. So that was kind of my journey into Linux, the short form, the Cliff Notes version, I guess. But that's how I got in there. So thanks for asking. Next question comes from the guy named John. He says, "Hi Jake, Void fan here. I have come to understand how Void and Run It works really well. I feel that I am missing out from learning the more industry-used Debian and Systemd. Did something similar happen to you? How much of a role would you say that wanting to expand your skill set in Linux admin played in your venturing on your most recent Linux challenge?" Well, if you're not familiar, like I said, I use Void. Void is my system of choice now, but I just spent the past 2 months in different distributions. I spent a month in NixOS, and I just spent the past about a month and a week in Debian 12, and I'm actually now out of Debian and into Artix. Artix with D in it, as opposed to Run It. Since I'm familiar with Run It from Void, I've switched to Artix with the init system D in it, which I gotta say, I just installed yesterday or the day before, but me likey. So, as far as the question goes, yeah, I guess that would be a similar reasoning behind my switch to do this. Running this channel, as small as it is, I'm not anywhere near the big guys, and I don't think I will ever be near the big guys, you know, your DTs and your Christitis Techs and your Linux Experiment and, you know, all these big tech guys, these big Linux guys, the Linux Cast, the guys that have the bigger channels. I don't have any expectation of reaching that level just because I don't have the time that they have to put into this stuff. So I am a smaller channel, but I do enjoy understanding how Linux works in all of its aspects. And I do enjoy talking with you guys and commenting with you guys and creating videos explaining this. And I enjoy it when you guys come to me with questions and stuff. And I figure if you're going to come to me with questions, I should probably have a general understanding of how as much of it works as I possibly can, because I don't like to tell people I don't know. In fact, you'll get an answer from me sometimes when you post a question on a comment and I say, I've never used it, but let me look into it. Now, it might be months before I get an opportunity to look into it, but I genuinely want to look into it and figure it out. So yes, John, trying to learn Debian and systemd, not for myself, but so I can actually have a better understanding of Linux as a whole, but also help you guys a little more. That's kind of my main goal with this channel, is to just kind of share what I'm learning, but also help you guys along the way. So thanks for your question, John. Next one comes from Mr. Andrew Keyboards. He says, can you tell us how to modify your bash RC? Would love to duplicate the process. Thanks. Mr. Keyboards, yes. I'm not going to go over it in this video. I use 3 files to set up my bash environment. One is etc/bash/bashrc. Second one is obviously my bash rc directory with my bash rc file. And third would be my .inputrc. Those are the 3 that I use to customize my bash environment. Fourth one, which is not really my bash environment, but is the visual representation, would be my terminal, and I use Alacrity for that, and I do use the Alacrity config for that. Now, I do have a video, I've got it in the works, probably for the next couple weeks or so, going over how I set up bash the way I do. Kind of going over how to get some of the ZSH functionality into my bash configuration file without plugins and without my bash and stuff like that. So I will be going over that, so if you can be patient with me, I'd appreciate it. But again, it's just those files, the .inputrc, the bash rc, and the etc/bash/bashrc, and then my Alacrity configuration. Next we have 10 Lee J. Hey Josh, I know what this question's about. Are you going to switch to Gentoo on the primary system and give it a try long term? Yes, Josh, I will. I absolutely will do that. I did my virtual machine of Gentoo. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was kind of cool. You know, there was a few things that were weird to me, and that I obviously did incorrectly, like installing Firefox. That took a couple hours because I didn't install the binary. I just installed. But anyway, I didn't use any flags when I did it on my virtual machine. I just wanted to get it installed and running. And so, while yes, technically that is the Gentoo experience because it is so open to use however you want. You don't have to use any flags. But I do want to actually get Gentoo installed using build flags, using all the stuff that Gentoo provides me to be able to make my system lean and mean, you know, all the stuff that is Gentoo's glory. So yeah, I do plan on installing Gentoo and giving it a long-term try on my main machine. You just have to be patient with me. I'm going to finish up my Arctics long-term. I've got somebody who also wants me to try BSD, so to any of you Void guys who are waiting for me to get back to Void, and that's the whole reason you watch my channel, I'm sorry. I will get back as soon as I can, but I'm just trying to garner as much knowledge as I possibly can with all these other distributions so I can at least have a broad knowledge base. So if you can bear with me, that'd be great. So Josh, yes, I will do it, I promise. And no, Josh, this isn't a Gentoo video. Last question I have is from Ed. Ed says, which fonts do you install for your apps? Ed, that's a pretty simple question. I install Nerd Fonts. I basically install the entire package, and I know for a guy who constantly says I don't like a lot of bloat, that's a lot of stuff because a lot of it I don't use. But it's just easier. I have them all in a directory, and honestly, whenever I change my system around or redo my system, I just drag that directory onto my new system, run fccache, and I have my fonts installed. So it was kind of a one-time deal. I could go through and pick and choose the ones I don't use and delete them out of there, but I figure, what's the point? So Nerd Fonts, I use Font Awesome and Nerd Font Icons. Both of them are installed on my system. Every once in a great while, I might go and grab a Google font that I think looks cool for a website or something like that. But for the most part, yeah, just Nerd Fonts. So that's kind of it for this question and answer period. Thanks to you guys that asked questions. I appreciate it. Shows you have interest in the channel, and that's good. Because like I said, I'm not a large channel. I hope to grow, but you know, if I don't, I don't. but you guys doing that shows me at least I got people that appreciate the channel and like watching it. So I do appreciate that. So stick with me the next week or so. I will have some Arctics videos coming out because I did make the switch to Arctics again with D in it, and so far I like it a lot. It's good stuff. So be prepared. It's coming out. So enjoy the rest of your weekend. I know it's only a few hours left before Monday starts and the work week begins. So enjoy that free time you get. Spend it with family, friends, by yourself, whatever you got to do to unwind and relax, and get yourself refreshed for the week, and just take care of yourselves. Stay safe. Everybody have a great weekend, a great rest of your week. God bless.